as much as I hate saying the word side hustle because I don't think they're a side hustle, I like to think of a lot of these ventures as just like things you do that aid in your career, aid in your life, and just develop you as a person, as opposed to like side hustle sounds a bit dirty to me, but that is kind of what gets clicks nowadays. So a bit about me. I am a data scientist, now a machine learning engineer, YouTuber, and writer. Writer one is a bit suspect because I'm not actually very good at writing, but I do it quite a lot. So I think when you do something, you can claim to be that something. So I've been building online for over 3 years, and ironically, I've also been working as a data scientist just for over 3 years. I initially started doing all my online things as a means for me just to learn more and be a better data scientist, which is kind of the approach I suggest most people to take. Don't build for an audience, don't build to make money, don't build for whatever you think, build for yourself, and eventually things will happen. But your priority always should be just enjoy it and have fun and also learn. I now have 8 sources of income. 2 of these are a full-time job and investments. So, but either way, 8 sources of income I can count at the moment, which is quite good. I'm far off from being a multi-millionaire, but I do have a lot of diversity in my income streams, which is kind of a good thing because, like we've discussed so many times, relying on one source of income is not ideal in most scenarios. And if you can vary that up, it really gives you a lot more options, a lot more opportunities. And what you find is that once you start adding sources, more and more come easier to you as compound effect occurs. And like everything else I do, I want to, kind of preface, I have severe imposter syndrome. I'm far off being the best at anything I do. I'm by no means an expert, but I like learning and just trying new things. And me and Shaw were talking about this before. My growth online hasn't been exponential or massive whatsoever, because I've been doing it for 3 years. Hardly massive, hardly a millionaire or anything like that. The main thing is, like, are you making progress year on year? If you're not walking, can you crawl? It's like all these things are just going forward. And eventually things will happen. It's just like everything in life, it just takes time, patience, and eventually you'll get somewhere. And if not, you'll learn useful skills along the way. Kind of what are side hustles? I'm sure most of you know what they are. It's basically any extra income that you have in addition to your full-time income. So you have a job, you might sell stuff on eBay, that's a side hustle. You might do a YouTube channel, you might make so many different things. People cringe at them, but they really do work, and they are unbelievably easy to start. It's just starting. It's everything, like everything in life. It's just that's the hardest part. And like I said, like everything, it just requires time, patience, and dedication. And you got to let compounding do its thing with a lot of things in life. I mean, me and Shaw were talking about it before, like everything is actually very, very simple. It's just very hard to do in practice. There's a common thing I see of, like, for example, YouTube, which I'll get onto, is that if you want to, say, you go to the gym and build muscle, you got to do it for years before you see any results. Same thing, everything in like learning. And I think there's a saying I saw that everything's like a lagging indicator. So what you do today, you won't see until 2 years' time, at least. What you do today, you won't see for 3 years' time. So you can't just do things now and expect to get income from your side hustles. You have to wait 2 years. So the money you're earning now is a result of everything you've done years ago. And those like a really, I mean, people say it's cliche, but once you get that in your head, you realize that you just got to do things now and don't worry about them in long term. The main thing I want to get home here is that a lot of the side hustles I talk about, or that I've done, took me years just to get to any form of actual constant results, where it's actually worthwhile. The beginning is always the hardest, and it's going to be the worst. But each got, like I said, let compounding do its thing, and eventually you get there. So that's the one message I'll say you should take home. Before we get into the actual side hustles, I want to talk about, there's different approaches to side hustles, right? A job is technically, you could argue, a side hustle if your other income is something else. There's a saying I like to think, if you're working for someone, you're technically an entrepreneur, right? You're selling your time or your skills to an employer. Even though you're employed, you're technically an entrepreneur. Your business is yourself selling it. If you go freelance, there's another way of selling it, but the difference between freelance and being employed, if you ask me, there's not a lot of difference. There's a few kind of legal kind of differences, but in terms of what you're doing for a company, you're selling your service to a company. You're just under the legal framework, you're operating differently. Now, that is one way of selling your time, so that's like providing a service. The way I like to do things is through something called organic content marketing, aka more passive income, or income not linked to your time. So organic marketing, I've done a talk on this before, is like the idea of creating things that attract your audience naturally. And through creating those things that attract your audience naturally, people approach you. So people like to say the idea of networking, but I hate the idea of networking. I rather do things myself, and then people come to me because they like what I'm doing. Because networking is exhausting, and just creating things gives you a lot more leverage in the long term. So A lot of my stuff I do is purely content based, and then I do things off the back of that content. So my platforms are not ginormous whatsoever. I have roughly 16,000 YouTube subscribers, 16,000 Medium followers, and over 5,000 followers on my Substack. So not a massive audience, but in total across these 3 platforms plus other things, I do on average make around 4 figures a month in mostly arguably passive income. Again, it's not like millions or whatever, but it's a good solid income. But this has been an accumulation of 3 years, and it's not slowly increased over time. Like my first year, I think I was making barely $100 pounds a month. Second year, maybe a few hundred, and in the last year, I'll start making 4 figures, and hopefully it keeps on growing. But you never know, right? But the point is, like I said, it accumulates and it compounds, and you got to let it do its thing. Particularly if you're doing it in a micro niche like data science and machine learning, your audience is not massive. If I was a finance channel, it'd be a lot easier. But how many people are really interested in data science content on the internet? Not as much as people interested in finance. All these other self-development, fitness. It's like a lot of bigger market. But the point is, you just do what you're good at. Don't worry so much about the audience. As long as there's some audience there, you'll be all right. Right, so that was my spiel. Let's now get into exactly what I recommend you do. And I also recommend doing this in this particular order because I think this is the best approach. Well, this is what I did, and I think it worked really well. And I think this is like how you should approach, if you're a data scientist, tech professional, this is where you should kind of follow this trajectory. So the first one is Medium. We've all heard of Medium. Don't be shy. Hands up. Has anyone got a Medium article or Medium post ever or done one themselves? Yeah. Nice. Do you post frequently on Medium? Out of curiosity, anyone? Don't be shy. Yeah, I know Shaw does, obviously. Yes, you do. Okay. How's it going for you? Out of curiosity, like in general, both followers, views. Do you enjoy it? Money? No. All right. Anyway. I do it for a while, but I fell off. Yeah. There is some traffic. Medium's a weird one. It's not the one I think is like the best long term, but it's the best one to start with. So I'm sure we all know as more traffic. I think. Well, we can discuss this. Yes and no. It depends what you mean by traffic. So start earning. So with Medium, you can start earning money straight away. You don't need anything. If you need like one Medium post, be a Medium premium member and be part of one of the countries that allows it, which pretty much every country in the world, apart from a few. So like if you're in most countries, you'll probably be able to earn on Medium, and there's no minimum requirement, which is ideal. So you're going to start writing technical articles straight away, and you can start earning money of them straight away. I have a whole video. I won't go into like the exact details of like kind of how to optimize for earnings, but I do have a whole video explaining how to get started on Medium, and we can discuss more in the Q&A after, to be honest, if people want more Medium specific knowledge. On Medium, you probably know you get paid based on the engagement of your articles. So similar to YouTube, views, claps, interactions, things like that. Is the Medium algorithm, some of you may know, is a bit kind of elusive. I like to say it's not very clear. Some articles just perform really well monetary wise, but have really poor views, and vice versa. I feel like YouTube, which we'll get onto, is a lot more linear and obvious, but Medium is a bit of a black box. And even loads of people on Medium say that. And like I said, this is my first one I started. I did Medium for a year and a half before anything else, and that's my purely source of income. I purely started writing technical articles to help myself learn. If you go to my oldest post, it was purely on like, I to a Markov chains, probability distributions, Bayesian regression from scratch. Everything was just purely mathematically dense. It wasn't even trying to get views. It was merely me trying to learn. Some of them did well, some of them didn't do well. But they were purely as a means for me to learn. And I'll share some of my earnings and my top articles I've got. So as you can see, I've written over 160 articles. And the one I wrote, I started in October 2021. So 2.5 years later is when I got my highest earning article, which is currently on roughly 1.8K. Second one, 1.7K. And you see it immediately tails off down to $400. So like everything in content, this is just an 80-20 rule. Probably this is more than 80-20, 2 articles over $1,000. But I've written over 160. But the point is, like, it just takes time. And the ones I've written here, you see, they're not even technical ones. They're more like ones, not clickbaity, but they're easier to read. So there is a game to play here. It depends if you want to play that game. I don't really try to play that game too much. But this is kind of the money you can expect. Again, we could talk more about Medium specifically because there are some tactics I've got that I think I really benefit these earning potentials. But like everything is kind of like a lottery almost with Medium. The next one is YouTube. I know people say YouTube this, YouTube that. Is, you know, I would say starting a YouTube channel has probably been one of the best decisions in my professional career life. Like, I think it's by far the biggest multiplier. I think YouTube is something that rewards you greatly long term. Like, Medium is really good, but Medium has a lot of less maturity than YouTube. YouTube's a much better long term payoff. So, for example, I would say I've been doing Medium for 3 years and YouTube for about a year and a half. The money I've earned from YouTube so far has already exceeded the money I got from Medium overall. Obviously, I've moved. Medium's helped me grow my YouTube audience as well. I think roughly 20% of my viewership come from Medium. But YouTube has a lot better long-term sustainability of your videos, long-term payoff, and I think it's a much better way to build an audience. I'm saying this now, probably I don't know if many of you will start a YouTube channel on the back of this, but the data science, I think Sean could say this as well, data science, machine learning niche is not that saturated whatsoever. I feel like software engineering is kind of saturated, but if you're a data scientist or machine learning engineer, I don't see anyone making content on it. Like, no one. Like, I've seen videos, I won't name names, which aren't that great in that space, do very well because no one's made videos about it yet. It's still early doors. So if you want to start a YouTube channel, it's the best time to start it now. Like, honestly, I think like it's so underrated, particularly in those spaces. The way you earn for YouTube, I'm sure most of you know, is sponsors, affiliates, and AdSense. That's how you monetize. There is, again, a minimum threshold of YouTube. It's 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours. Again, we could talk about YouTube strategy later. I think it took me about 40 videos and 6 months to get to that number, roughly. Again, but I had an advantage of Medium. I think the average tube buddy said was like 50 videos. It takes 52 videos to 100 videos to reach 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. It's a long-term game, but it pays off more. So I can't share my earnings precisely because for privacy reasons. So from YouTube, my AdSense is roughly £300 a month. Again, it varies, but on that scale, I get roughly £100 a month from affiliates. Again, varies. And sponsors is on the scale of hundreds per month. I can't discuss sponsor actual numbers because you kind of agree not to discuss the fee, but like that's kind of the rough ballpark you can imagine. And you can see my audience is quite small, right? My audience is like 16,000 subscribers. When you're 100,000, imagine how much the sponsorship deals would be then, right? So it really does exponentially grow. And this is why I think YouTube is a much better long-term payoff, particularly if you're looking for money specifically, and audience building as well. But again, it really is up and down depending on the type of person you are. Cool. Then there's newsletters. So has anyone got a newsletter here or a curiosity? Yeah, no one else? Newsletters are probably the most fun. Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. So newsletters are a weird one. I'm not overly sold on newsletters being the best way to initially start earning. Yeah, it depends on what you are. I think there's newsletters that have done really well in software engineering, like developing dev, high growth engineer, a life engineered, obviously, I can't pronounce it, Gurgly Orzis newsletter, pragmatic engineer. These have done all very well in the newsletter space. I think to grow a newsletter right from scratch with no other kind of content, you need to be very, very, very good at what you do. So you need to be like in my opinion, like a top engineer at like Meta, Google. Like, you need to be really kind of well known already, kind of in your space. They can provide really useful advice. That's just my opinion. People can disagree, but I found that newsletter is kind of secondary to like a YouTube channel or Medium post. But anyway, a newsletter can be a good way to grow. People have paid newsletters where your newsletter is so good, people just pay to subscribe to it. And I think there's a saying where like you only need 100 loyal fans paying you like £10 a month, right? And then you're making like £1,000 per month on repeat subscribers, which is ideal. Or you can do what I do. My newsletter, I sell through affiliates. So I have affiliate links. I have sponsors in my newsletter that bring in some income. Again, not a lot, but it takes time to grow. Again, some people make like thousands of dollars from their paid newsletters. It's very common. I think, I forgot, the pragmatic engineer for Gurgly Oros, I think he makes a killing. It's like 60K a month or something ridiculous he makes from his newsletter. But he's like a top tier of tech content. And again, it's really easy to start. A newsletter is probably easier to start than a YouTube channel way easier. But this is an example of how I kind of get some income from my newsletter for like a sponsored post. So a company may approach you and say, can I sponsor you for my newsletter, and they'll pay you a fee or affiliate link, and then you get attached that on your newsletter. Again, I only got my first sponsored post after 80 articles on my newsletter, and I was writing it every single week for 80 weeks. So it does take time. Obviously, I've got a split focus, but like I said, everything kind of builds slowly. Then this is the other one, which is kind of, I think some people do this, and in my opinion, you kind of need traffic to do this before. So the idea of mentoring or consulting is quite well known. So like people will come to you asking for advice, or you can help consult a business. So you kind of, what I said before, you kind of like a freelancer in a way. But again, this is easy to start. You can just, show your services on LinkedIn. I think unless you're like a really top engineer, like unless you're, what's it called, Andre Karpathy, no one's really going to find you realistically. You know what I mean? I think it's very hard to find someone unless like that you're very well known at the top of your field, because people just don't trust you. So in my opinion, you need to kind of build an audience, some traffic beforehand to do this. Or, some people may just contact you anyway and you can start charging them. But like I said, unless you're like the top of your field, it'd be very hard to get a recurrent income from this strategy. But again, it's a good idea because unlike YouTube, newsletters, Medium, which are kind of out of your control how much you earn, mentoring and consulting, you're very much in control of your pricing. So you can control exactly how much you charge for yourself, how much you charge clients. These are very much in your control. So there's pros and cons to this. Like I said, you can set your own value. Whereas with YouTube, you're kind of at the mercy of the algorithm in a way. Same with Medium, same with newsletters. You're at the mercy of sponsors reaching out to you, giving you a price that they agree on. With this, you're purely saying this is how much I value my time, and this is what you're going to get. I do this as well here and there. So I offer a few services, mentoring and CV review. I don't get, it varies how many bookings I get, probably 1 or 2 per week. I'm quite busy, so it depends how empty your calendar is. But this is a good way. Also, to be honest, for me, this is probably the most rewarding part of it. Like speaking to people 1v1 and really helping them, hearing out their problems. I really do enjoy it, and that's probably my most favorite part of it. Again, it's not scalable. That's one thing I would say. So, it does work and it's enjoyable. You can't really scale mentoring to a really high level unless you build like a consultancy business almost. And that's kind of a different kettle of fish. And the final one is digital products. So I'm sure most of you have heard of this before. Again, it's very passive income after you create it. So you create, for example, a PDF, wallpapers. You can create, anything that people can sell online, and you can market it. It's very similar to selling things on eBay or like Etsy. Let's say you create a bracelet selling on Etsy. It's the same thing, but you sell a digital product. The point is, you got to have something that you have really good knowledge in that people are willing to buy, and that's kind of a hard thing. That's the hardest part. Will people buy what you're selling? That is something we can go into, and it's very difficult to know exactly what to sell that, like I said, people will buy, because you kind of need an audience to know exactly what the market wants. Again, probably the digital products are probably the most passive income strategy out there if you want it. I recently sold my ebook, and now I built it in a few weeks, and now it's just there. I don't do anything with it. It sells. I'm not going to disclose how much, but it sells every month, every few days, and it's just accumulating income through that kind of strategy. So I'm guessing people joined in here because they want to learn how to start things. I think what I've told you here is pretty obvious, but it's always just, like I said, it's very simple. It's just like, can you be bold to do it? And I have these conversations with people all the time. So I always just say, like, if I was to do one thing as a result of this, it's to start creating online today. Just saying, like, money's a lagging indicator of everything else. So don't start focusing on money. Even now, I don't focus on money. I really don't. I focus more on like just being a really good data scientist, really good machine learning engineer, improving my skills slowly. My focus is still being the best in my job. Like, I'm still fully employed. I want to be good at my job and be, and excel my career and hopefully reach like staff machine learning engineer levels in like 5 years, 6 years time. That's my main focus. All these extra things I do, yes, they bring a little bit of money, but like I said, not enough to place a full-time income, but they're there just to make me a better professional and like I'm a better person, but like upgrade my skills. So start focusing creating online today and sharing what you know. and like just start really small. And I really would love someone out on this call to just start doing it tonight or tomorrow. Like do a LinkedIn post. Like the amount of people I spoke to who are like, oh yeah, we're gonna start posting online and I want to do this and that. And I'm like, well, just do like it's really not rocket science. It's just people are scared and it's fine. I do a LinkedIn post, do a Twitter thread, do a blog post, do a 30-second YouTube video. And it's really not that hard. And you just got to start doing it. I mean, the amount of people I mentor and like teach on like through people struggling to get a job or like they're really looking to like upgrade their data science career. I always say start posting a Medium post. The amount of people who've done projects on something, I'm like, all right, you've done a project, just write a blog post about it. It'll take you literally an hour. And I tell you, none of them do it. But if you do it, then you'll immediately get that edge of other applicants. I don't know. It's like I said, it's really simple. You just got to start, and then eventually it'll happen. But the start is always the hardest, and that'll be the most difficult time. And it will change your life if you do it for a long period of time. You know, when I first started blogging on Medium back in September 2021, as a result of me blogging on Medium, I'm now here talking about how to do side hustles. Right? It's over 3 years to get to this stage. But like I said, I posted 170 Medium articles, over nearly 90 YouTube videos, 80 plus newsletters. I'm still not massive, but like it slowly accumulates and you get to places where you didn't think you could, but it's always just every day doing something. And that's a cliche, but it really is true. I'm sure every content creator can tell you the same thing, really.
Yeah, well, let's thank Egor for a wonderful talk and presentation. I see questions are already coming in to Q&A, so keep them coming in the chat. Also, you can raise your hand and come off mute if you want to say your question instead of typing it. So first question is, which platform can I sell the digital product? So where are you selling your ebook?
I sell mine on PayHip, but obviously you've heard of Gumroad, PayHip. It doesn't matter. Like I'd say this, if you're in the UK, PayHip's probably the best.
Okay.
Gumroad is classic. But yeah, just it doesn't matter. Just create a product, put it up somewhere. The first one probably won't do that well. My first one hasn't done as well as I thought it would, but it's fine. That's just the game, right? You do it, you iterate, you have a bad one. You know, people have requested refunds from my ebook before. So it's, it's just how it is. That's just the nature of everything. You try and error.
Yeah, so PayHip is where you're selling it. Are you doing any kind of like marketing or sales? Like what does that consist of?
Yeah, so I market it not aggressively. Like it's in the descriptions of my YouTube videos. It's in the bottom of my Medium posts, and I did market it for my newsletter once. So I do market it. Again, I'm not trying to force sell it to anyone, but like I do say people I have it. So that's why I recommend for digital products first to have an audience first, ideally. But that's not hard and fast rule whatsoever.
Yeah, that's good. Let's see, another question. Which content do you prefer us to focus on? YouTube, Medium, from our audience, and earning, X Finance, or something else? So I guess like, where do you think is the best place to start? It seems like they might be coming from a finance background, but I guess we can just answer the first part of the question.
I would say Medium is the easiest to start with. You don't need equipment, low friction. You use a laptop. There's also, we can get into it, as publications on Medium. So the thing of YouTube is that when you post on YouTube, you're just posting to your audience, which initially is zero. Now on Medium, there's something called publications. So I publish most of my work through Towards Data Science. So even though my following is 16,000, Towards Data Science following is like 700,000, and they publish my article. So it's the same as a YouTube channel publishing your video, which has 700,000 subscribers. So it's naturally going to get more views. So Medium is by far the easiest and quickest way to grow an audience, in my opinion, to start. You just have to do it consistently. And then what I did is I didn't migrate my audience, but then I used my Medium articles to transfer people onto my YouTube channel, which helped that initial growth stage. And then now YouTube is kind of going by itself. So I recommend Medium. We can have a proper discussion about exactly Medium strategy if you want to prioritize growth. But Medium is probably the easiest one to start from YouTube and the quickest to probably start earning. But like I said, YouTube pays better in the long run.
Yeah, I feel like this next question is a nice follow-on to that, which is, do you think it's better to write your blog on your own website or to start on Medium?
Oh, this is a good one. I like this one. Does anyone know who Nicholas Cole is, the online writer? So I haven't got. It's not here. I've got a new flat. I've got his book called The the art and science of online writing. Whatever you do nowadays, do not write on your own website. It depends where you want to do it, but if you want to grow an audience or gain traction, writing on your own personal website is completely the wrong way to go. One, because your SEO is going to be shockingly bad. You're not going to rank at all highly. There's no audience. Like, who's going to Google your name and try and find your articles? Unless you share them through LinkedIn and things like that, but there's no network effect on your own platform. Things like YouTube, Medium, Substack, Twitter, LinkedIn, that's where all the online writers are, because there's a network effect. So when you post it, people can pick it up because people are on those platforms. So if you're going to start blogging, write on a platform already. Don't write on your own website, whatever you do.
I found the same experience. Like, posting on these well-known platforms is just like an easy way to rank. Like, there's so many times that I'll write a blog post and post a YouTube video just like on something generic, like fine-tuning large language models. But then I go to an incognito browser and type like fine-tuning large language models into Google, and like my blog post is on the first page of Google. So like that, like you won't get that when you post it on your own website. But there are people that I know who post their blog on their own website, and it seems to be working for them. But I guess the caveat here is that they're trying to grow the SEO of their own website because they sell consulting services. Like whether it's better to kind of link your consulting services on Medium or to just post your blog on your own website, maybe that's still an open question.
And to add to that as well, there's a classic thing where people go, "Oh yeah, but if I'm writing on these platforms, I own my audience." Yeah, fine, but the technique here is that you write on these platforms and you get them on your email list. This is the strategy people employ, and that's what everyone says to do. So don't worry about it. You got to have an email list where you back people onto.
I feel like this next question's a really good one. I always think we can find everything on YouTube, and there's no new idea left, or I'm not an expert to make a content. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're always wrong, because you could. There's a thing, right? I hate to say it, I find it a bit cringe. Like, you are your niche. Like, no one can. You are unique in that what you make is to yourself. As long as you're not literally copying someone else's word for word, what you experience is your own, right? You can't. If you're a data scientist, your data scientist journey is going to be different from mine. It's going to be different from everyone else's. No idea is new, right? And there's no such thing as a new idea. Where do you think like Atomic Habits came from? Do you think the guy just made all the concepts up? No, he read papers, right? And then he condensed it. Where do you think those papers came from? They came from somewhere else. The point is, like, nothing's ever new. Everything's just rehashed and repackaged, and that's fine. But you're explaining it in a certain way. And like me and Shaw were talking about this a while before. Like, I think on average it takes someone 7 times to hear something before the idea sinks in their head. So maybe you're just really good at explaining that one idea to them that really gets into their head. So don't worry about it. Like, literally don't worry. Like, there's so many people who make the same content, but they all do well. Like, all the self-development YouTubers are really popular, make the same content. Like, if you think about it, they all tell the same thing, but they're all popular. Why is that a reason? Personality, production, people kind of prefer them over other creators. There's so many like intangibles to content creation that it's not all idea. That's what I'll say.
I feel like this is so true. And just to share my personal experience, my first blog post I wrote was on the Fourier transform. And there's so many articles, YouTube videos, there's so much content out there on the Fourier transform. But for whatever reason, like that one, like people still watched it, people still read it, people still commented on it. So it's like the Fourier transform has been around for hundreds of years. There are dozens, if not hundreds of like videos and articles on it, but people still, read my blog post and watched my video. So yeah, even if you're rehashing something, it's still worth doing it. Okay, we got another question here. What type of LinkedIn strategy that you found to have the highest impact when it came to creating traction, posting twice a week, for example, so on?
Being brutally honest, I'm the worst person to ask on LinkedIn advice because I do not post on LinkedIn. I find, from what I've seen, LinkedIn is very much like you have to post nearly 3 times a week. LinkedIn is something you post consistently nearly all the time. That's what I think works well. I have a friend called Mandy Liu who's really good at LinkedIn. I can link you her details. She has a whole ebook about posting on LinkedIn. She's done very well on LinkedIn strategy. So I'll link her thing in the chat. You're better off speaking to her than me. My LinkedIn just grows as a byproduct of YouTube and Medium, to be honest.
Zhang asked the full name. I missed the last name, Nicholas. I think the author of the Writing
Yes.
Online book.
Yeah, Nicholas Cole. His book is really good. I recommend you read his book and basically follow it word for word. I've read it. I want to read it again because I read it like a year ago, and I've kind of forgot all about it. But here, let me find it to you.
Okay, nice.
But he's like the biggest writer on. He was the biggest writer on Quora, and then he's a massive writer on Medium, and he earns like loads of money through writing. His writing is more about he wants to be a writer, so he ghost writes. So it's kind of a different thing to what we do, but a lot of the advice he will give is relevant to how we kind of want to write, ideally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's actually relevant to this next question. How can we earn money by writing blogs and content on Upwork or Fiverr? Can you share that approach? I guess like ghostwriting. I know, any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I don't do this personally, but yeah, that's what you do. You become there's people I know who are technical writers. You start writing on Medium, like I said, these free platforms. Let's say you get a lot of traction. You then provide your thing as a service. So you have to demonstrate your worth first. So there's a few options. You either write Medium and then you say this is my writing, get this much viewership, or you just write for people for free, and then they value your work. That's kind of in the book I linked is Nicholas Cole will go over that process if you want to go down that route of being like a ghostwriter writing for services for companies, because that's there's kind of two ways of doing it.
I guess either way, the first step is the same. You know, just post that first blog or just start writing.
Yeah, I always say to people, for the first year, just focus on like getting like 5,000 followers or like a number that's like decent size, but nothing like unattainable, and just focus down for the first year, and then see where you are, and then reevaluate. Because during that process, you'll learn more and more about what to do and how to expand and how to grow.
Yeah, and I feel like what you said earlier was very insightful. How I think you said TubeBuddy said that most people to get 1,000 subscribers, it takes them 50 videos. At first, you might hear the rules or like the criteria for monetization, or like you might have this goal of like 5,000 followers on Medium, but it might be daunting because you have no idea how to do that.
Yeah.
But you can always just translate that to how many blog posts do I need to create? Like how many videos do I need to post? And then I feel like you can just start eating away at the elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah, that's the best strategy by far. Just start small, iterate, and grow, and let compounding to its thing, like I always say.
Nice. Okay, next question. How would you strategize going from making blog posts to eventually freelancing and consulting opportunities?
Oh, that's a tough one because I'm not there yet. You probably can answer this question better than me, right? I think you did this, sure. I think you can answer more.
I feel like the starting point goes back to what we just said, which is just post. Because a lot of times when I was going on Upwork, I would specifically look for jobs that were relevant to content I've posted in the past. Like anytime I saw something in the medical field or like healthcare research or something like that, because that overlapped with my research. And then they said it's something like TCA or the wavelet transform. I get really excited because I already had videos and blogs on that stuff. So I would write the proposal and I would link those videos, and the probability of getting an interview for those gigs increased significantly. And then eventually that can get to the point, like, once you get a bigger audience, like when I had left my job and was just freelancing full time, I was getting 2 discovery calls every single week just from like sharing that link in my YouTube video descriptions. So I feel like there are many levels to this. But the starting point is posting, and then the bigger your audience gets, the easier it'll be to leverage that audience to freelancing and consulting opportunities, whether it's like on a one-to-one scale of applying to a specific job on Upwork, or like a one-to-many scale where you're trying to sell like or give away discovery calls or sell consulting services kind of passively by sharing that link. Another LinkedIn question, but there's a Medium part to it. So what are the best ways to use LinkedIn and Medium to establish a personal brand? Yeah, I feel like this is a good one.
It's a good one. What I say, there's kind of 2 things you do. You do a Medium post, and you summarize it on LinkedIn. That's literally all you do. It's that simple to start with. Do a Medium post and then summarize it, 200, 100 words on LinkedIn, and then redistribute it on LinkedIn, and then that's kind of your strategy to start with. It's really that simple to begin with. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, that's good. Let's see. how did you get ideas for your content? Is there certain research you perform to figure out what people want to learn? So I guess like what's your process for coming up with ideas?
This is a good one, and this is like I think the more you're in the game, the more like that sounds cringe. The more you're in the game, the more you know how to do these things. At the beginning, I just I basically had like my first videos were purely a time series tutorial. So I did forecasting tutorial, very technical, Jupyter notebook, equations, code. It was just me kind of going over my blog post, but in a video format. Then that was that fair course to the right. It wasn't the best quality course. But that's the starting point. To get actual ideas, like get traction, yes, you need to do research. So what you do is, I used to have vidIQ. I personally don't use it anymore because I like to do everything quite organically. What you got to do, you got to find videos for creators that have done very well who have a similar following to you. So I have a list of YouTubers on my Notion page, which are like data science, machine learning focused, who are roughly my size or a bit bigger. And then I kind of see what videos are doing well for them. And then I'm kind of saying, okay, like, can I do this in my own way? Yada, yada. Like I said, no idea is original. Like, I don't get my ideas off the top of my head. I look at how's happening. With data science, this is like my kind of, not secret source, but data science and software engineering are very similar. But like I said, there's more videos done on software engineering than data science. So what I do a lot is I go and follow software engineering creators, see what videos work for them, and try and translate that into data science. So that's one strategy that's worked really well, particularly in our niche. So that's my secret for that way.
Yeah, it's really good. Two things came to mind. One is the saying of a real artist's steal.
Yeah.
So that was actually one of Apple's mantras, like in the 70s or 80s when they first started. So basically just like taking other people's ideas and like repackaging, repurposing it. And the second one is like taking the software engineering channels, which are much bigger, and just adapting it for data science. And I see this as like a form of content arbitrage. You know, it's like, it works for this audience. It'll probably work for this other audience too. You just got to, figure out how to make that translation. So
I'll give you,
really good one. Yeah,
I'll give you another. I don't know if I go onto the Reddit data science careers pages and look at like every week, go onto Hot and see what is the most asked questions every week. There's some gems in there that can be really good for video ideas. That is another secret I can tell you.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many sources, but when you start, like I can probably think back to when I started. It was probably it's like staring at a blank sheet of paper. You just get writer's block. Yeah. But definitely now I have way too many ideas, and I have to figure out which ones to like ignore.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Another one. Do you set a clock to post or release on a fixed schedule, like every Thursday night or something like that?
Yeah, but I don't think that matters. People say you have a schedule. I try and post once a week. I kind of vary my frequency. My goal at the start of YouTube, for example, was to post 100 videos in roughly 2 years. So that's roughly a video a week every year. I'm on that trajectory already. So I'm on 89 and I can't start YouTube in August. I'm now going to 2 videos per month because I've got a new job starting and other, like I said, my sole focus is my job. But as long as you set yourself an average kind of routine, frequency doesn't matter. I try to post every Thursday actually, but like to be honest, it doesn't really matter when you post on YouTube. The YouTube algorithm doesn't actually care when you post. To be honest, it's people say like, oh, you should optimize for people online. I don't think it makes any difference. Same with Medium. I don't think it makes any difference. The only thing I would say makes a difference with is emails. So newsletters. I recommend posting newsletters at the same time every week, every fortnight, whatever that may be.
Is there any benefit in using paid marketing over organic marketing once you have reached a level or want to boost your reach?
I never done paid marketing because first of all, I don't know how to do it properly. Second of all, I don't see why you'd want to do it. I think paid marketing, it's like we're getting to the proper like side hustle stuff. Like it's proper and it's popular in drop shipping when you want to market a product. I've gone the whole route of building an audience and building people who trust you and like your ideas. That's kind of what I do. I don't have much experience with paid marketing, to be honest. I know people do it. I've just never tried it.
Let's see, what's your opinion on having one website that's purely your portfolio and another that's your blog with your thinking process breakdown of how you did it? That's
fine. I mean, if you link, I've got a website, but my website, I don't post my blogs. So I'll link my website here. My website is just a personal website describing everything I do. My website is not really anything special. It's just, like I said, it's just saying what I do. These are my content. These are my links, yada, yada, yada. You can do that, to be honest. I recommend most people having a personal website anyway, even if you're not creating content. I think it's a really good thing just to explain what you're about. And it's really simple to start nowadays. It's really, really easy. I mean, sure, you've got video about it anyway on your channel, so you can check that out.
Yeah, you got to have a portfolio. I feel like that is just a really easy way to stand out. Even if you're just trying to get a job, like get your first job or get a promotion or something like that. It's very much like content creation. It's this very simple thing that most people don't do because it's slightly uncomfortable. And if you're just willing to be a little uncomfortable and like make that portfolio, or post that blog or make that YouTube video, you're just going to be in you're just going to have a huge advantage over other people because most people are lazy or they don't want to be uncomfortable. So if you just have like a very small willingness to be uncomfortable, it can serve you very well.
I promise you, no one cares. Also, literally, no one cares. Like, literally, no one will realize like at all. Literally, no
Nice.
one.
Okay, it looks like this is the last question. What if you've just started out in your career, less than a year's worth of experience? I guess the question here is like, what can you make content about in that case?
Oh, I'll give you a fun fact. I started creating content before I even started my career. So before my first day as a data scientist, I posted my first ever blog post, and it was how I landed a graduate data scientist job. So the moral of the story is you talk about what you know and what you think people will like. Don't worry about it. Like I said, if you look at my posts, they weren't necessarily even for anyone. They're for myself. They're purely technical advice, technical articles to help me upskill my career. In fact, that's all I wrote about for the first year and a half, 2 years. They were purely technical articles to help me learn. Basically like writing notes to yourself, right, from lectures. That's basically what I was doing. I was uploading them to Medium. So yeah, don't worry about it. Like it's just the way, I think Ali Abdaal has a great way of saying it, be a guide, not a guru. If you could just say things as how I did it, this is what I recommend, no one can disagree with you because you're speaking from experience. You're not saying this is how you should do something. You're just saying, I think you should do it like this because that's what worked for me. No one can take away speak from experience because it's your experience. It's not wrong. It's just your opinion.
Yeah, I feel like that's really important. And maybe this was a sentiment in an earlier question of like, I'm afraid of being wrong. I feel like I'm not an expert. But the thing is, like, if you shift it from like, oh, what do I know so I can make content about that? But instead thinking of it as like, okay, what do I want to learn so I can make content about that, like as a way to learn and also like share the process. Because in that case, like there's going to be infinite things you can make content about. And it doesn't matter where you are because there's always something to learn. Okay, so we got one last one that snuck in. What is your idea about using AI or ChatGPT in content creation?
Okay, we've got time. I'm going for a spiel about AI and content creation. Yes, you can use it. I think people say, oh, it's so easy to create content now because you use AI to write your scripts. You can use AI to do this. I really don't recommend you go down that route. You can use AI to help you. There's a difference. But I wouldn't be like, all right, I'm going to create a blog post about 5 things you need to do to be a data scientist, and you get AI to write it. Don't do that because it's going to miss the personal element. People don't like AI writing. Is horrific. Like, I don't know if you read it, it looks uncomfortable. Human writing has errors in it. Human writing has kind of weird nuance to it. Human writing is a lot more intangible than you may think. To me, it's really obvious when something's AI written, and I hate it. Even when someone's reading from an AI script, it's so bad. Like I said, you can use AI for some idea generation, but to be honest, all my best videos and best ideas come from me just organically looking what's working and applying that myself, because that's a lot better. And what I kind of like doing is that if everyone's using AI, I think that's the time when you kind of go, you know what, maybe it's better to not use it because that's what everyone else is doing, and go down that traditional approach. I'm a bit of an AI not hater. I'm a bit of an AI hater / doomer. I don't think it's as good as people make it out to be. It has its use cases, but I feel sometimes you can get more value just doing things how they're done before. So yeah, again, I have arguments with people about AI in general. You can use it. I don't recommend it to write your own scripts, and speak from experience. That's what I recommend. Don't rely on AI.
Nice. And then we got another one that is a good question. Have you made big mistakes in your content, and how did you recover from it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, even recently, my recent video I uploaded, it was a bit too clickbaity, and I had to change the thumbnail. And someone commented on my video saying, your content's very good, this is a bit clickbaity, you don't need to do it. I was like, yeah, you were right. So I changed the thumbnail to make it a little bit less clickbaity. So yeah, I make mistakes. Sometimes I go too far. Again, it makes sound really cringe. On my Notion page, I have like an advice, and one of my advice is like, don't lie. So I never have lied, which is good. And it's like, be authentic and like build trust. So like there is a game to play and there's a balance to strike with like on YouTube, how you kind of encourage clickbait, but you don't lie or make it too bad. And I think my recent video, my thumbnail, I walked over that line a little bit, and then I kind of rechanged my thumbnail to make it a little bit less clickbaity. And mistakes like that happen, and you learn from them. Again, I'm talking about very small things. This is not like me saying anything outrageous online, right? This is just like mistakes you make. And my whole thing is always about not necessarily to like have a massive audience, but have people who trust me and like you. And I feel sometimes you can walk that line, and you've got to be very careful about how you do it. Like I said, it's a game of getting clicks, but not lying or being overboard in it. I don't know if you had similar things, sure. I know your content's a bit more like technical than mine. But yeah, it's a hard balance to strike sometimes.
Yeah, it's all about like delivering on the promise, you know.
Yeah.
And I think of it as like a global retention curve. Like if you click into a video, you see the retention curve, but it actually starts even before they click on the video. It starts when they see your thumbnail and your title. And like you'll get a ton of drop off if you have a video, like if you have a thumbnail and a title that has nothing to do with your video, like that's going to maximally drop off. Because, you know, if you say like, you know, the secrets of the rich or something like that, and then it's like a cat meme or something like that. Like, you know, people, maybe they like the cat meme, but that's not what they expected to click on. So kind of fulfill on that promise.
I mean, I made other mistakes as well. Like when my technical content, I make a few typos, but those are just small errors. Like that's not a problem. It's more like you said, when you don't feel your videos aren't authentic. That's when I struggle. Luckily, I never had anything that bad happen. That was like the worst case, where the thumbnail was a bit clickbaity, and I changed it, which thank God I could change it. But that's the worst I've gotten to. But I learned my lesson, and I knew when I did it, it's like, yeah, this is not you. Like, you know what I mean?
I feel like the mistakes are a gift because you won't forget it, and the earlier you make them, the better. Because, you know, it's better to make it now than when you have 100,000 subs or 1 million subs or something like that. It's just going to be much more stressful. But also like on the technical mistakes, because, you know, I imagine people here are going to be making technical content about data science or machine learning. It's the same phenomenon. Like you're never going to forget that mistake. You're never going to forget that lesson. So that actually happened to me. My most popular video, actually, it's on fine-tuning large language models. If you look at the example, the model is obviously overfitting, but you know, I didn't catch it and I like put it out there. But like now, like I'm going to be like very sure my model's not overfitting in any case, whether I'm making a video about it or not making a video about it. So like these kinds of mistakes are actually the best source of learning.
Yeah, and to us, loads of creators make mistakes. I think there's so many big creators that made mistakes. As long as you own up to it, to be honest, and say sorry, or like whatever, I don't think anyone can hate you. As long as you haven't done another place where you've actually like damaged people, do you know what I mean? I think you'd be okay. Making a mistake in technical articles is fine. You just say like, yeah, sorry, I'm doing it. I was just doing it for myself. I didn't realize. I don't know. No one will care.
Someone asked for data science resources. I feel like Egor's channel is a great place, so I'm just going to drop his his channel in the chat. But with that, thank you guys for joining. Thank you for all the great questions. Egor, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your insights with the community. If you guys enjoyed this workshop, we do a ton of these workshops and live podcasts, and you can check them out at our events page, which you'll get an email about on Luma. So yeah, let's thank Egor once again, and we'll see you guys on the next one.